How was it for you coming out?
Well, I guess there were 3 coming out stories. When I came out to you, when I came out to Danny, and when I came out to my mom. I don't remember ever coming out to Dad. I remember when I came over to you, you just said, "Oh, I've known since you were 9. What took you so long?" You were very flippant about it, in a very reassuring way. It was okay. And that was really good for me, that it was very no nonsense. When I came out to Danny, it was very different. We were driving down Court Street in Charleston, and I said, "Danny, I need to tell you something." And he's like, "Okay." And I said, "You're going to hear it from someone eventually, and I want you to hear it from me. I'm gay." And he just starts bawling and crying. And I mean, just these great old big crocodile tears. And I said, "What is it, man? It's not that bad, honestly." Laughter. I was probably 17 years old. And he said, "It's all my fault. It's all my fault. It's all my fault." I said, "How in the world can it be your fault?" And just in this incredible moment of clarity, he looks at me and he wipes the big tears out of his eyes. And he says, "I've called you cocksucker all these years." And I said, "Oh, Danny, if that's all it took, half the people in town would have to been gay." Laughter. You know that's his favorite phrase and always has been. So you know what was a bonding moment for Danny and me. And you know, of course, when I told Mom, I think she cried for 3 weeks.
Maybe longer.
Maybe longer, which I never really understood and couldn't quite get my hands around. But I don't know. Growing up, the hardest part for me was sitting in that pew and listening to people tell me how bad I was. You know?
So when did you find your voice?
I guess I found my literal voice in 1993. I had made an incredible journey to get to the March on Washington, one of the major lesbian and gay marches. And once I got there, it was just wonderful to be around all those folks who I had something in common with. And then, the next morning, when I returned home, I was driving to work, scanning through the stations, and I landed on WJYP, Joy and Praise 101, or something, a Christian broadcasting station. And the announcer was saying all these terrible things about the march. And so I pulled off the side of the road, and I went to a payphone, and I called the station. And they put him on the phone, and I said, "What are you thinking?" I said, "Were you there? Did you attend this event? You talk about it on the radio as if you were there. You were not there. I was there." I said, "If we're going to talk about gay and lesbian people, you should have someone gay or lesbian on the show." "Oh, we've tried really hard. We've tried many times to get somebody on the show." And I said, "I'll be on your show." And he said, "No, you won't. People say that, but they don't show up." And I said, "You tell me the time and place, and I'll be there." And he said, "Well, it's 10 of 7. We're going to have a live segment at 7:30. If you want to be here, we'll put you on the show for 10 minutes. And I said, "Okay." I hung up the phone, and of course I was shaking. I mean, I was absolutely trembling. And I went to the Hardee's across the street and got $5 in quarters and called everybody I knew and said, "You've got to call this show because I'm absolutely petrified." So at any rate, I got up there, and we were in this little studio, and there was just a bare light bulb hanging down from the ceiling. That was it. And in behind me walked this really big guy. But it was amazing. Once I sat down, I was just as comfortable as I could be. And we went through the first 15 minutes, and he said to me, "I'm sure you don't want to stay." And I said, "No, I'm perfectly comfortable. I'll sit here until you're ready to turn off the microphone." And we sat there for another 2.5 hours and talked about these issues. Even though 99.9% of the callers who called to that show just talked about me like I was a dog, about how sick and perverted it was, that didn't matter. What mattered is that there was somebody out there in that audience who was listening, who needed to hear that I was gay, and they were gay, and it was okay. That was the only person I was worried about. The rest of those people didn't matter at all to me. And that's how I try to live my life.
John, when I think about you, about the way you, like Dad, very much walk your talk. And I really admire that hugely. Because I don't know how many people there are like you. I mean it when I say that you're one of the most important people in my life. I think my relationship with you has had one of the most profound effects on who I am as a person now.
In my life, as things have progressed, I found it to be a great honor to have you and Danny for brothers, because you've probably been two of the most important people in my life. I talk about you all the time, and a lot of times my friends will say, I can't even talk to my brother about the weather. And I say, I tell my brothers everything. Laughter. It's great for me to have you and Danny as my brothers. I really love you both. And that's from June 26, 2005. I'm going to send, why don't we pass these along, a couple of pictures if people want to see the characters.